Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Sam Sugar. And though it's been a while, we are going to do a victim video today. With us today are Amy Gedeon, who is talking to us from Denver, North Carolina, and Dr. Robert Murdoch, who is a holistic acupuncturist, speaking to us from Cape Coral, Florida. This case involves the now 18-year-old daughter of Amy, whose name is Alexis. And Amy, welcome. And Dr. Robert, welcome to you as well.
Thank
Amy,
you.
why don't you start us off and tell us a little bit about yourself first?
Well, I am currently living in North Carolina after living in Florida for numerous years. I came up here to get away from Hurricane Irma and lost my house and everything in it and got stuck in North Carolina. So I have basically built my life for the last 3.5 years in North Carolina.
And what section of the state is that in?
Towards the middle,
Okay.
towards the west, yeah, middle.
And what kind of work do you do?
I'm in the food industry. I'm a professional chef.
Very nice. And tell us about how this business with Alexis came up. I understand Alexis is a special needs child. Is that correct?
She is disabled with autism, correct?
Okay. And how did that autism manifest itself and when?
She was born perfectly normal, and at her 14-month shots, I lost her within a week.
Could you tell us what you mean by you lost her?
She broke out with a full body rash, had 106 temperature. The doctor said, just keep giving her Tylenol. That's really all you can do. So I would give her Tylenol, which I now know is probably one of the worst things I could have done. And her fever would go down and it spiked back up, and I would call him again and he would say, there's really nothing you can do. And so within a week, she lost the ability to walk, to talk, to feed herself. And she no longer responded to her name.
That's a terribly tragic story. And so were you her sole caregiver? Are you a single mom?
I was married. I just became a single mom when I got to North Carolina, and she was with me 24/7 her entire life.
Okay. And then what happened? I presume things were going along fairly routinely, if you can call it that.
Well, we were trying to rebuild our life somewhere. I was trying to get the house situation fixed in Florida. I was working with the contractors, insurance company, trying to get that going in the attempts of going home, and purchased a house up here just so we had a place to stay in the meantime, because it's not a quick process at all. And so it was May of 2019 when my neighbor came across the street and he said, I just killed 17 mice in my house. And I said, oh my gosh. And he said, yeah. He said, do you have any mice? And I said, no, I don't have any mice in my house. He goes, oh yeah, they just came in all of a sudden, just saturated my house. And I said, oh my gosh. So about the end of July, I started getting mice in my house. And so I put a deposit on another place. I had called one of my friends in Florida. I said, can you come up and help us move? And he said, absolutely, I'll be up that weekend. And so we were planning on moving around August 25th, around that area, whatever that weekend was. On August 20th, DSS showed up at my house and says, we heard you have mice in your house. I said, that's correct. And they says, well, your daughters can't stay here. And I said, I understand. I said, we're moving in 3 days. And they said, no, you can't stay here. And I said, well, as you can see, we have boxes and we're moving, and my friend's coming up and I have this situation taken care of. And they said, well, is there somewhere your girls can go for the 3 days? I said, well, they can go with my oldest daughter who lives about 45 minutes away. And they said, that would be fine. I said, okay. So they went with my oldest daughter, and DSS said, just, it's no big deal, just move or take care of the situation. I said, well, I was planning on it. I was in the process. I really didn't need your help. And they said, okay, well, it's no big deal. And here I am 2 years later, still trying to fight to get my kids back.
So because you had mice in your temporary living quarters, the North Carolina Department of Social Services took your just one daughter or all
I
your
have two of my younger ones I brought up from Florida with me.
but they only took Alexis?
No,
They took
they have
both.
both still.
And your other daughter as well?
Yes,
Physically well? Yes.
yes,
Okay, so that happened in the summer 2 years ago.
yes.
What's happened since then?
Well, obviously the situation was taken care of immediately. I was moving anyways, like I stated, so I couldn't understand why I couldn't get my kids back. And so when I went and asked them what was the problem, I don't drink, I don't smoke, never done drugs, there's no abuse. Why can't I have my kids back? We've moved. I couldn't get an answer. And so I've been to court 1,000 times and still can't get an answer on why I can't get my children back. I was homeschooling my kids. They criticized me for that. They, in fact, didn't even know the rules of North Carolina, but yet they criticized me for homeschooling my children. Alexis was 16 at the time. It was summertime. She didn't need to be in school. North Carolina aged out for school at 16. She didn't need to be in school at all. But yet it was like I was not homeschooling them well enough, even though they didn't know anything about it. I was at that time running a hot dog cart because I came up here. I'd lost my job. I had filed for divorce. I'd lost my house. Just a lot of big things was going on. And I was trying to take care of two girls and survive. My ex was nowhere to be found. He was not supporting me or helping me at all. And so this is what I was telling him. I'm like, we're doing our best as we can right now, but I don't understand what the problem is. And they said, well, you have your girls on a hot dog cart. I said, so what? So what? I mean, this was the best they could come up with is basically those two things. When you have mice in your house is a mess. I'm not going to deny that it was a mess. You can't clean when you have mice. This is why I was moving. This was also why my friend was coming up, is because you have to kill the mice. You have to, take care of the situation and go in and fix it.
And was this the first time you had ever had a run-in with anybody from the courts?
Yes.
It's incredible that they would decide that you, I don't even know if we call you an offender, but a first-time person would have the ultimate penalty imposed against you for having some mice in your house. What is their motivation, do you think? Other than to pad their statistics?
I've seen it done to more than one sitting in the courtroom. I honestly can't get in their mind and say why, but they like to take children. They're definitely not pro-family. They send us to their psychologists. Their psychologist writes up a bogus evaluation. I've had to fight that numerous times. Very successful, by the way, because I've seen children being taken away from their parents because of these evaluations. I don't know what the reasoning behind all of it is. All I know is that they told me they hated me. That's what I heard. They didn't personally tell me that. I heard that from my lawyer. But every time I ask my attorney, when will I get my kids back, or why don't I have my kids? And he says, because they hate you. And I'm like, I don't understand that.
It doesn't sound like a very good lawyer to me.
No, I think he was part of the problem. Honestly, I ended up firing him. And he, when I could appeal everything, he didn't tell me I could appeal. So I lost the chance to do that. I'd never been through this before. I had no idea the ins and outs of everything. They have their own system they follow. So I ended up firing him, went pro se for a while, did end up getting another attorney. to this day, I'm still fighting to get my kids back.
I'm flashing a picture up of your daughter's hand that you sent me. Can you tell me about this?
It was December of last year. Alexis has had a really hard time accepting any of this. She was 3 to 4 words verbal before all this happened. They moved her 7 times, 5 different school systems. 5 different times they moved her in 45 days to unlicensed foster homes. She started reacting because she couldn't really verbally tell anybody why she was hurting, why she wanted to go home, any of that. So their answer to all of this is we'll just drug her up. She's never been on drugs in her entire life. So last December, they've put her on Haldol, Luvox. They've stopped her menstrual cycle with Depo. She's a perfectly healthy child. I have proof of that. They spent 11 days in the emergency room because she ran out of the house of one of the foster care looking for me. They had the police come. I'm sure that was a wonderful thing for her. The police escorted her to the hospital. They put her in the emergency room, couldn't find anything wrong with her, called me and asked me what was going on. I said, they won't let me have my daughter back, and I can't tell you why. So they had her on Haldol for 11 days in the emergency room. And the only reason she was there for 11 days is because they refused to let her come home. They had nowhere else to take her. So last December, well, they actually moved her to South Carolina at one point in a treatment center. They said that's where she'll finish the rest of her life. And I said, no, it's not. And so about 28 days into that treatment center, they said she can go. She's too high functioning for here. She doesn't need to be here. And their intent was that she was going to live there forever. And so they didn't have anywhere to take her then. So they finally found another place where she's at now. She was pinching people. She was just basically miserable. They have traumatized her so bad. I get to see her 1 hour every other week. Sometimes I didn't get to see her for months, and they can't figure out why she's acting out. And so
This sounds so eerily familiar to those of us in the guardianship abuse community, where they do very similar things to the elderly people who are vulnerable and powerless. It's the same controller drugs. The motivation is almost always money. Almost always. There's tremendous amounts of federal money, state money, local money available through these dependency courts and family courts, not to mention probate and divorce courts. And they can turn an individual like your daughter into a cash cow for the rest of her life.
yeah.
Now, Robert, perhaps this is a good point for you to jump in and give us your observations.
Well, what I can say is that when I first saw Alexis, and I think she was 2 or 3 at the time.
Yes.
Her behavior was, she was nonverbal, and she had a propensity for taking her clothes off and running, just running to get away anywhere. She was just a runner. And we did some physiological testing, did some lab tests, and I made some recommendations. And starting with those recommendations, Amy really built on creating a very healthy lifestyle in terms of very well tailored diet plan and activities, to the point where she became verbal, not extensively. She had a few words, and she would copy a lot of words. To the extent where she would be able to sit and watch a movie with them. And I came to a birthday party where, and it was at their martial arts school, where Alexis was meaningfully participating in a martial arts class. So I'd say, the progress that she made under mother's care and, with the, with the diet supplementations and the kind of the therapy that her mom gave her. She made incredible strides. So I think the notion that they were in any way, the girls were in any way neglected or maltreated is ridiculous.
Now, I don't normally do this, but which court and which judge is supervising all of this in North Carolina?
This is Catawba County. It was under Judge Cherry. I now have a new judge.
You have a new judge. Did Judge Sherry remove himself or herself?
He moved to another district.
And have you appealed to the new judge in terms of getting your daughter back?
No, because she's 18 now.
Oh, so they've got you in a bind with that as well. And they
Yeah.
claim that she's incapacitated and doesn't have the capacity to,
Yeah.
Oh boy, what a nightmare.
Yeah.
What a nightmare. Is there anything anybody who might be watching this video might be able to do to help your situation?
I just want her to come home. And she's being hurt. Her left hand's now crippled. She has tics with her mouth. She's lost a tremendous amount of weight. Everybody says this is normal.
No, it's not normal. It's from the drugs. It's from the controller drugs, of
She
course.
looks 90 years old. She's a zombie.
If somebody
what-
wants to reach you, to reach out to you, why don't you give your phone number out? I'm sure it's safe to do that.
239-234-3325.
Repeat it one more time, please.
239-234-3325.
Now, in retrospect, wait a minute, before I say anything else, let me tell you how sorry I am to hear this, another horrific story brought about by the overreach of government. It's just awful. In looking back on how this all came to be, could you have done anything differently?
I play that record over in my mind
I'm sure.
every day. I didn't have a washcloth to my name when I got up here. I was doing the best I could. My kids ate. We had clothes. We had a place to stay. We had a temporary, unfortunate situation I've never dealt with before. I didn't have a lot of money. My ex was nowhere to be found. I did the best I could do. I see drug addicts get their children back, and I see mine once every other week. I see her twice, 2 hours twice a month.
It's so tragic to hear this.
She says to me when I put her in the van, she says, "Go, I want to go." She's trying to say she wants to go with me, but she doesn't understand why she can't go with mommy.
And unfortunately, this business of disappearing 18-year-olds, particularly those children in Florida, among other states that have a multi-billion-dollar fund for birth injuries, who get settlements so that they're taken care of for the rest of their lives. On the day they turn 18, they disappear them. That is, the guardians from the court come and rip them out of school. And I'm personally involved with 2 cases like that, where they take the kid and the mother never sees the kid again, or the $5 million in the trust, which of course they all steal. it's a sad commentary. It's a horrible thing. You have my my sympathy, and I'm going to just put this out there. If there's anybody either in Florida or North Carolina that can help, you have Amy's phone number. And I would urge you, if you're a lawyer in particular, probably better than the one she had to fire, perhaps it would be a good act of human kindness and just person to person civility to give her a call and see if you might be able to help. Amy, I'm glad we were able to do this today. I'm so sorry this has happened to you, Robert. Thank you so much for talking to us today. Any last thoughts, Amy?
I thank you for this. I've done everything they've asked me to do. She doesn't deserve being away from me. She sits in a room in a group home 24/7, watching Elmo videos. That's her life now. Being chemically restrained so she doesn't pinch anyone. They're hurting her and I can't stop it. I have begged the guardian. I begged her and begged her and begged her to stop hurting my daughter. She's done nothing wrong.
Who is the guardian?
Phoenix Counseling.
And they're located in North Carolina?
Yes.
That's PHEONIX Counseling?
Yes.
Perhaps someone who sees this has a connection to Phoenix Counseling. Is there an individual in Phoenix Counseling?
I've talked to all of them, including the owner.
And who is the owner? Who is the owner?
Kevin. I don't know his last name. His name is Kevin.
Okay.
And I have begged them, just even bring her home.
Yeah.
I said, she wants to come home. I said, there's
they
no
don't
reason.
want her, they don't want her to come home. There's too much money for them involved.
I know.
Well, God bless you. Let's hope someone watching this video will be able to lend a hand. And let's hope for better things in the future.
Thank you, sir, for everything.
Thank you. Bye-bye.